Hey Bubble family, welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to do two videos over the weekend. One being I'm going to talk about South Park. And if you don't know what that is, I'm sure you do. But they have done, I guess a episode on Harry and Meghan. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And in my second video, I have had so many of you ask me how I got into therapy and doing the work that I do. So I thought maybe now is the time that I will discuss a little bit about me. As I know some of you, you would like to know. And obviously for those of you who don't, then you will bypass this video. So I hope that you enjoy the two videos I'm going to be putting out over the weekend, but this one is the first, and this is going to be talking about the South Park. Now I'm going to give a little snippet. I feel like I might have to, I'm not sure if I would get a copyright strike, so I'm going to see if I can put a snippet up here. If it doesn't appear, then you know I couldn't put it up for copyright, because I haven't quite worked out, is there a way of doing it that it doesn't kind of get me into trouble. I don't really know. I haven't quite worked out the copyright thing, because I don't always put videos up and photographs up, because I try to be very careful of not getting any strikes on my channel. So I am going to try, but if it doesn't come up, then I'm pretty sure that you can go across and look at that yourself. So if you want to join me in this particular video where we discuss this particular thing, then you should know what to do by now. And if you don't, it is grab your drink of choice, whether it be tea, whether it be coffee, whether it be a glass of water, because like me, you do try to be a little bit healthier occasionally. Or you might like what I drink, which is my cherries and berries, which for those of you, I have put something on my community page, because so many of you ask, what is cherries and berries? And so I have put it on there for you to go and look at. Where to find it in your neck of the woods. Or maybe you would like to add a little something to that drink of choice, because, well, it's Friday, and as I say behind me, it is 5 o'clock somewhere. So let's grab that drink and let's dive right in. So the gift of Harry and Meghan just keeps on giving. And again, and now it appears that they really have become a laughing stock in America. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about this and the reasons why I feel that that Americans are catching on to what we've been saying. So I'm sure that most of you, like I say, have seen this particular episode where South Park, they ridicule Harry and Meghan. And what's interesting is they use the things that we've all been talking about. I really do think that South Park are very clever. I always find that like things like South Park and The Simpsons and sort of companies that do these as sort of adult cartoons are actually quite clever in the way they do things. I don't know if you've seen a lot of The Simpsons. I mean, whether you like them or don't like them, it's not really my thing. Although at times I have watched some of the episodes and found them quite amusing. But my kids before have certainly sort of grown up with, or like The Simpsons, and, so I do see why they are very well liked. But the things that they've picked up on is the wording, which was interesting to me, was when they talk about them, sort of they go on a sort of a talk show sort of in Canada, and they mention the host mentions that, it's not been long since the Queen has passed away. And then they start talking about sort of what Harry and Meghan have done, and the fact that, they call the book the Wah, and which I thought was quite funny, because I think a lot of us have said that it's a wine fest, and it really is. But the biggest thing is the privacy. You know, these two people that have said that they want privacy from the intrusion of the media, because I don't necessarily think it was privacy from the world in general, but it was like privacy from the intrusion and the misinformation or the disinformation of the media. And yet these two have done everything in a way to court the media, because they use the media when it suits them. Harry has done numerous talk shows and he's done interviews. So has Meghan. She has used the journalist when she very first spoke out with the backdrop in, is it Africa? Where she was like, you know, I thank you for asking me if I'm okay, because nobody has really asked me that. Really tone deaf to the fact that they had just been and seen the most horrendous situations and the lifestyle and some of the things that these women and men have been subjected to, and the poverty that they live in. And she stands there in her designer wear, being in the royal family, very privileged, grown up actually privileged, and stands there and says, you know, life has been so hard and nobody asked me if I'm okay. I mean, how the journalist kept a straight face, I don't actually know, because at one point I'd be saying, hang on a minute, you do realise where you are. So she utilised, you know, journalists there, and that's okay. That's okay, because when they want to use them for getting themselves that public, because let's be honest, without the media, we wouldn't hear about them. So it's okay for when they want the media to talk about them, when they're going to these events, or she turns up at Uvalde very tastelessly and utilises that horrendous situation for media coverage. That's okay though. Doing the podcast and getting the media coverage for her podcast, that's okay. Harry getting media coverage for his book, that's okay. However, as soon as a negative story comes out, oh, that's misinformation or disinformation. We can't have that. So then we know that this is massively about negative stories. We do not want negative stories about us. We want to control the narrative. So of course, South Park, this is the biggest thing on this series. You know, they're running along going, we want privacy, we want privacy. But basically saying, you know, you've just done this book talking about the royal family, breaching their privacy, releasing so-called texts, talking about this older woman that you supposedly had sex with, hurrah, you know, but actually wasn't. She was actually around your age. So happy to lie, happy to breach everybody else's privacy, because we must have that narrative out there of we are the victims. We are the ones you need to feel sorry for, even though we are dripping in our millions and our expensive designer wear and jewellery, and going to all these lavish, well, maybe not so much lavish now, as everyone is kind of getting sick to death of them. But yeah. So I found this very I feel that this is almost as if it's now Americans really have had enough now. They're always going to have their select few diehard fans. You see them, they come out of the woodwork, and the sad thing is that they really have been gaslit, because it doesn't matter that you confront them with a lie. You know, say you expose the lie and say, well, hang on a minute. You know, Harry and Meghan are called the royal family racist, but Harry in an interview says, we never said that. And so most of us that actually use our brain can kind of see what's happening, but their fan base will be like, well, he never actually said the words. They might have mentioned the word, but they never said the royal family is racist. So picking apart the wording, losing the actual facts of they did say it, and they implied it as well. They allowed the royal family to be trolled, attacked, accused for 2 years without saying anything, and yet they can come out publicly and make statements about something else, but they couldn't come out publicly and say, please leave the family alone. This was not about the family calling us, you know, being racist or whatever it is. They then had an accepted an award for tackling, racism in the royal family. And yet somehow their fan base still kind of go, yeah, no, they never said it. And you sometimes feel, why are you so invested in, you know, because it's interesting because they say, you know, why are we so invested in calling them out? Just leave them alone. But then on the same turn, it's that why are you so invested in believing them? What, you know, these are public figures. They're not your family. They're not your friends. Why are you so invested in believing somebody? Because you get your information the same way we do. It's just that we choose to interpret it another way, or we actually look for other evidence to support what we're hearing. We don't just look at something and go, oh yeah, that must be true. You know, most of us actually use our brains and kind of go, okay, I've seen this story. Let me go and see if I can find some evidence to back that up. So then that leads me to think that perhaps their fan base are either of a similar character. So they actually would do some of the things that, or have done some of the things that Harry and Meghan have done. Or something's happened to them in their past, and for some reason they are aligning themselves with Harry and Meghan and almost seeing themselves in their victimhood, if you like. So I found it very fascinating that South Park had done this, and I think when you have that, when the Simpsons are coming out and doing things, or South Park are coming out and doing things, two very sort of dominant kind of adult cartoons in that part of the world, that I think it does say a lot about the mindset now and the changing narrative, I think, of the way they feel about Harry and Meghan. And it does feel that their star power that perhaps they may have had in the beginning, because obviously this was before everyone knew who they were, has diminished. And there's always going to be a select few people that possibly will side with them. But I think Harry and Meghan's need to be in with the elite. They're not going to get that on their own merit now. Now, they might have done, and Harry certainly would have done in the beginning before any of this come out, because he still had that, in a way, but my belief of a fake character of this lovable rogue prince. But I think he's now coming out and looking very much like a childish, whining, ungrateful, like I say, misogynist person. And I think what they've actually done is they've undone themselves, and the royal family have had to do nothing. They've done nothing. And what a perfect way to be. And in a way, this shows you how you deal with narcissists, because they will undo themselves. You don't have to help them. They won't be able to help themselves, because their ego gets fed every time they get, say, for example, like when they did the Oprah interview and they got some positive feedback from that fed their ego. So they keep going, and they have this belief that they can change that narrative. So when the narrative started to change and they started to have people turn against them, they then go, well, it's worked before, let's do it again, and let's keep going, because we've got to change this, we've got to change it back. And so they will keep going and they will undo themselves. And that's exactly what's happened. And now they are a laughing stock in America. where they will go with this, I'm of the belief, now people have said that they don't believe that she will divorce him. No, she won't physically, as in like publicly divorce him. I will always say they are not together. I think they are only together at the moment to for a business relationship, because these two people are very toxic and very dysfunctional and combative, and they would not be able to be in the same room with each other for a long length of time without it being explosive. So these two are not physically together. They will come together to make a show of we are a couple. But even if you look, like, even with the last showing of them, I think it was with the Ellen DeGeneres supposed they turned up at her event, that her with Portia, the renewal of the vows, they weren't seen together. There was a picture of Meghan by the looks of it, and then I couldn't see. I did look. I mean, maybe because I'm not in America, I didn't get all the footage, but there was a picture of Harry standing in with a few people, but she wasn't next to him like a barnacle that she normally is, and then she was standing and there was no Harry next to her. Now normally they're literally like this, and they weren't together. So either she showed up and he was superimposed, or he turned up and she was superimposed, because they were very grainy, the photographs as well, which is a very odd thing, because I think especially nowadays, why were the photographs so grainy? So especially given that they look like they're taken like away from the event, so it looks like perhaps someone's got a zoom lens. Now we know that most photographers, if they're using a zoom lens, they've got a pretty good zoom lens because they want a good photo. But somehow they get some strange grainy photograph of them at this supposed event, which then tells us that possibly this is again another made up photo, or it's or I don't know, or they've just got their mate to do it from down the road. Who knows? But there's always something that's just not quite right with these two, and so I'm going to say to you that I do not believe that they are together, as in romantically. And so I do think that this is why we're getting these stories of that she's meeting these very sort of rich, affluent, older men. And I have said this before, if she is going to leave him for somebody, it will be that she will find, I'm sorry, but some poor sucker who's probably a bit older that might fall for her, because, you know, she is getting on in years. I mean, I'm not saying that she's old, because goodness, I'm 50 this year, so that means that I'm old, so I'm not going to say that. But I will say that she's certainly not a younger, sort of fresh-eyed, kind of young, sort of 30-something that maybe a man in his 40s or 50s would go for somebody maybe a bit younger. So it seems that she does seem to draw herself towards older men who might be swayed by her, should I say, and the family have a right to be worried. Let's be honest. So yes, it's very possible, and apparently also that they're getting these donations, these anonymous donations of a large amount of money. Well, who's doing that then? So I do think that she will be behind the scenes, because I will say this about Meghan. I do not like her, but I will say that she has the tenacity and the drive to work the system. She's done it so far. And if nothing else, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would not want her life. I would not want to be this very disliked, infamous person. I think, you know, if you're chasing this, it's never going to lead to anything good. And the fact that she doesn't care who she steps on to get this money and whatever it is that she's after. And I've always said, and I've said this in pretty much most of my videos, that she wants to be part of the Hollywood elite, and she will do what it takes to get there. And if it means that she has to buy her way in by using someone else's money, then she will do that. Now, obviously, if she has political aspirations, I don't know enough about American politics to say one way or the other, but we are talking about someone that's a narcissist. Her ego will be that huge that she will believe she can do it. Whether or not she can is a different matter, but she will believe she can. With the right amount of money and backing, she will believe she can get her foot in the door. And Harry will be left there on the wayside. He will just, to me, I think he will be a broken shell of a person. But I do think people will, if they divorce, well, say not if, when they divorce, people will feel sorry for him. Because I think predominantly most people, even though they are seeing Harry as a bit of a clown, and there will be there will be people that will see him as this damaged person that was taken advantage of by someone like Meghan. Do I think that potentially happened in the beginning? Yes. But I also think he is just as bad in different ways. The way he has trodden on people, trashed his family, in a way trashed the country that loved him, and made allowances for him, I think is absolutely diabolical. And this is why I am partly angry that the government and the royal family are not getting together. Well, so it seems. I mean, behind the scenes they might be, but it seems that they are not kind of going, well, you know what, you don't want part of this country anymore, then you are out. You will always be a member of the family, but when it comes to the literal part of the monarchy, you are out. Now, I have heard rumours that King Charles is supposed to be whittling down the line of succession to UK working royals only. And this could be a way of eliminating Harry and the children out of the line of succession. Whether that's true, I don't know. But we'll see. But it does, I think, like I say, it does mean that that seems that Americans have had enough, and they have no credibility there. No one really takes them seriously. And so this then means that their selling power is going to be greatly diminished because no one is interested. So I'd imagine that Netflix is not really going to probably sign them up for anything else. I mean, yes, okay, their series did seem popular, but if we're honest, we know that the reason why they was because of the fact that people were waiting for the dirt to be dished on the royal family. And not just that, there were journalists and people like myself that do podcasts or YouTube channels or whoever that would have watched this to take snippets to talk about it. So that's why this was deemed popular. It's not popular because they are loved individuals. It was popular purely subjectively because we were all some of us, I mean, I didn't watch it all, but some of us were looking at things because we talk about it. And we want to break it down. The same with his book. I truly believe that the sales of his book really were more reflective of the fact that a lot of us that had the book, I mean, I got my free version, thank you to a lovely subscriber, but some people bought it due to the fact that they wanted to research it and actually use it for, to talk about. Not because he's popular. They do not have a huge popularity rating, and that shows because in the US they've plummeted. Over here they're in the toilet. So there we go. So let me know what you think about that cartoon. I know a few of you have said, have you seen it? Have you seen it? And obviously, yes, I have. And I have to say I did have a chuckle. And I'm sorry, but these are consequences. When you do the work that you do, and the work that I do, the one thing I always say to my clients is you have to own your part in something. You cannot expect to heal if you don't actually look at yourself and own the parts in things that you have to play. You have to be responsible. And now, so this is Harry and Meghan now reaping the consequences of the way they've treated people, the way they've behaved publicly, and the fact that the internet doesn't forget. You might think that something that was done years and years ago doesn't matter, but people will find it. And if you are contradicting yourself, and if you are lying and making up false information, people are going to find the truth and they're going to call you out on it. And so they should. And that's why these YouTube channels are gold dust. The fact that we have to keep calling them out, because we're in the day and age now where we don't even know what to believe in the media anymore. So if we find the truth, we call it out. And that's why I did the video on the children, because I don't believe what they are telling us is the truth. it doesn't matter that maybe we don't know what the truth is, or we may never know what the truth is, but the fact of the matter is we're able to say, you're lying, and we are going to call that out. And we're not afraid to do that. You know, this channel to me is always going to be about being respectful, coming in with debates and conversations with each other. Oh, do you know what? I now hate that word, conversation. She's ruined that for me as well. But yeah, so having those debates and having different opinions and respectfully talking about things, but also seeking the truth. You know, let's keep that going, because like I say, in this day and age, that is, you know, like gold dust in itself. So I hope you like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed and you do not want to miss, put my teeth back in, future uploads, then please consider subscribing, and then hitting all on your notification bell. If you want to know more about kind of what you can do in supporting this channel, which is to help people, I do the videos to help you to keep more informed, especially when it comes to narcissistic personality disorder and toxic behaviours. I talk about these the way I do because I want to highlight them to help you be more informed. I also help people in their emails. I help people outside of this channel, especially if they are struggling financially, to give them support and advice, because I believe that mental health support should be open to everybody, and not just for the people that can afford it. So if you want to help support that, you can do that in many ways, by becoming a member, buying me a cup of coffee, or a cup of tea, a Patreon, and you can buy some of my merchandise, because the proceeds from that go towards helping others. And what else? Oh yes, so for the people that still email me, I love you for emailing me, but the people that email me going, where can I send you something? In the description box below is a PO box. You can send me something to there, and that gets to me. So those of you who don't know, that is what is there. Oh my God, that is what it's there for. And yeah, so, and then if you want to email me, that is also in the box below. So in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And like I say, this is video number 1, and then my video number 2, which will be going out at some point, is going to be just a little bit about me, and that is going to be just for my lovely Bubble family who have asked, why did you get into therapy? Why do you do what you do? And so I thought, you know what, it's about time I gave you that video. So I hope you enjoy. So as always, as I always say, I love you, I appreciate you, but most of all, I respect you. Mwah. Take care, Bubble family. Bye.